A gun shop in North Carolina has decided to put up a billboard featuring freshman Democrats, Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and Ayanna Pressley. And let's just take a quick look at what it looks like so you get an idea of what this gun shop thinks is a good idea. The four horsemen cometh, and cometh is crossed out with "are idiots," signed the deplorables, and then right underneath it says the gun shop's name. So they had also previously had this billboard up, and it was replaced with the freshman Democrats. It shows Donald Trump looking nothing like Donald Trump, saying "no collusion, no obstruction, just guns, Cherokee Guns." Okay, so it is a scary time in America for communities of color. It is a scary time in America for these freshman Democrats who are specifically targeted by Donald Trump. And to have a gun shop put something up like that is beyond irresponsible. It incites violence. It targets people who are already vulnerable. These are freshman Democrats. They're not running around with a security detail. They don't have a security detail. And this like nonstop, hateful, violent rhetoric toward them it's concerning to say the least. So they're claiming, no, this has absolutely nothing to do with targeting them. This has nothing to do with violence against them. Talking Point Memo reached out to the gun shop, and some guy named Butch answered. According to TPM, a Cherokee Guns sales manager who goes by Butch claimed that the new billboard is meant to be a blow against socialism, not hatred toward anybody, and continues to say that the next billboard would feature Senator Bernie Sanders because, quote, he's an admitted crackpot socialist. Because you're not a crackpot when you're targeting vulnerable women with your hateful billboards, and you're not a crackpot when you Photoshop a picture of Trump to make him look like he's a bodybuilder. Anyway.
Well, in what possible way could an advertisement showing four women of color, first-term congresswomen, be some sort of, in relation with the gun next to it, actually be any sort of statement of criticism of socialism? There's nothing being conveyed there, right? So there's no moral equivalency here. If you show one image with Trump, photoshopped and deep faked or whatever with a bunch of guns, that's an expression of Trump as a supporter of guns. If you show another image with guns and these four women, that's an expression of what guns might do to those particular individuals. So the gun is not a neutral tool. The gun is a reference to what it is expressing in relation to it, right? And so in this particular case, it's expressing that it's rhetorically expressing potential violence toward these women, and so it's crushing on that level.
Definitely
crushing.
It absolutely is, and it seems dishonest to say that it was just a coincidence. We just happened to be selling guns. It wasn't. There's nothing to it. This is what it is. It's dishonest, and also that's the first time I think that's the first time I've seen a gun ad, and I'm not sure I believe they should be a thing. Also, a cartoonish gun ad seems irresponsible, let alone cheap. That just seems like not a good idea. Like, hey, guns here. I don't know, like if you are going to buy guns because you're a collector, because you want to protect yourself because it's legal, I understand that, I guess. But the ad, I don't know, something about that rubs me the wrong way, and I just never noticed that before.
I remember a few years ago, there was a story about how gun manufacturers were finding ways to advertise specifically to women, and what they would do is put out these like little pink guns, and it was just a way to feminize a weapon meant to kill in order to appeal to a certain demographic, which traditionally, did not dominate the gun sale market. And it's just crazy how things have devolved further, right?
Yeah, I mean, we often hear this expression, guns don't kill people, people kill people, right? I think we've all heard that expression quite a bit.
Unfortunately,
but now we see a certain type of populism organized on the right wing, full of racism and hate and misogyny, organizing itself around these particular individuals, around these women of color who are bold leaders. And to juxtapose them as some sort of political entity that you want to criticize and attack with a gun is not at all a subtle statement of the relationship between a gun and those women.
Especially at a time when shootings, I mean, we just had 2 shootings that we know of. I know that there are probably more this week. And it's a common occurrence. And this type of behavior is beyond irresponsible. So a question that I didn't expect to ask you, so I'm sorry if this is like catching you off guard, Ramesh. One of the things that concerns me is like you can't just look at the story as an isolated story. It's tied to so many other societal issues. And one of those societal issues is how the internet is radicalizing young men to the extreme right, to the point where they actually carry out violence. And I'm not just talking about political ideology. I mean, people are now buying into crazy conspiracy theories, and it is driving them to murder. So one of those stories we covered recently had to do with a young man, I believe he was 24 years old, went to a mob boss's house because he was convinced that this guy had it out for Donald Trump, and he shot and killed him at his front door. Right? He was part of the suspect. The 24-year-old was a QAnon follower.
Right.
Somebody drove a car through a group of people like it was a video game. Like it's just wild.
It is wild. So like what can we do to stop that type of radicalization? Because I know your expertise is in tech, and I feel like real solutions haven't really been provided for this.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the most inflammatory version of yourself, especially when you're someone without a clear identity, a clear kind of rooted sense of security, the most inflammatory possibilities for yourself are what the internet feeds you algorithmically, because that keeps your attention and it takes you down a rabbit hole of maintaining your attention. And we're finding that gun violence in this country is disproportionately a form of white domestic terrorism, as Elizabeth Warren called it out. So this actually is a question of public accountability for private tech companies and private algorithms. They have to recognize that by inflaming us further and further and further, and the right has used a very effective strategy of fueling inflammatory and racist content online, that the effects of that are ones that not only polarize us civically, but it actually creates great amounts of violence. So this has to be a question all of us as progressives, media networks, as academics, we need to expose the social irresponsibility of these tech companies for what they are, and we have to ask them to be accountable and give us some area of governance around what these algorithms do. So these algorithms have to be audited on some level, or at least governed in some way, especially when it comes to political issues. And this is why it's high time for us to intervene in this area right now.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.